Okay, good evening and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the late one, which is truly Silburn. We call it In Review, where we look at some of the top news. And of course, what can I say? It has been a smashing week. I think all we should be talking about is football, football, football. But hey, there's more to life than football, but at the same time, there's only football. But without further ado, Anthony, do you think there's only football only? Good afternoon.
Hey, well, good evening, Selborne. Certainly, it's been for all those football fans out there, it does look as if they've got one foot in terms of the cup coming home, or at least something's coming home. I mean, at least they're in the final. They've got a 50-50 chance. So, I'm pleased for the team, I'm pleased for the country, and I'm pleased for the individuals involved. It's been a really sterling effort by the whole team.
You said the word. You said the word a while ago, and this is what you said. Sterling effort.
Well, sadly, it would appear that if you read some of the papers, they don't. I don't know what it is with the UK media. I think they gave, in the match I watched yesterday, they gave the man of the match performance to Harry Kane. I mean, everything always goes to Harry Kane, and Sterling, was. I'm not saying he was overlooked, but certainly he was the man of the match. He's the one who created the penalty. He's the one who created the first goal. He's the one who scored all the England goals, bar the last couple of matches. So, really, he has been a real sterling within amongst the team. I mean, he's done a tremendous effort. So, congratulations to him. But also, I give my congratulations also to the England team.
Well, I think that is very correct. I mean, he did a massive sterling effort, and everybody's believing now that football is coming home. It's funny. I mean, might as well we just talk about this. And of course, when David comes in later, he can chip in because I'm sure he's a fan of one of these. But many people and friends from overseas are saying, "Oh, you guys are lucky." They said it before. You guys are lucky. Some are saying that the penalty wasn't a real penalty. Well, I say you need to speak to Maradona, and of course he's dead. I'm saying the hand of God. Everybody's trying to find some reason, but I believe that we can do it, Anthony. I believe that we can take it home.
Well, yeah. I mean, look. I did say when we spoke about this before that England have had a very, very fortunate group that they've been in. I mean, in truth, you can only beat the teams that are put in front of you. So, and they have done that, but their teams that they've had to play have been very weak. If you look at the other group, the other group had Belgium, had France, had the real big hitters, and England have had a fairly easy transition to the final. If you take away the Denmark game. So, but again, you can only beat the teams that are put in front of you, and they've got a really stern test on, they're coming up this weekend against Italy. So let's see how they do. But certainly, the penalty situation yesterday, I think most people who watch football will actually say that was not a penalty. I don't know how the guy gave it. Even now, when I look back on some of the replays, I can't understand how England got the penalty. But hey, some of us remember.
Yeah. Anthony, can you hear me? You can hear me clearly. Okay. That's fantastic. I'm glad that you're hearing me because I can't hear you. But so what I'm going to say is that keep talking about what you think about Gareth Southgate while I try to figure what's going on. One, two. Yeah. Can you hear me? Wow. This is very interesting. Whereby, it's like we're doing lip thing right now, because you can hear me clearly, but I can't hear you. So what I'm gonna do is listening to my phone to see if I can hear myself on my phone. If I can hear myself on my phone, let me see. But I can't hear you. So what I'm gonna do? I'm hearing myself on my phone to see if I can hear myself on my phone. If I can hear myself on my phone, let me see. Can you hear me on my phone, Anthony? I can't hear you. I'm hearing myself on my phone to see if I can hear myself. Don't worry, don't worry. There's a way around it. There's a way around it. Can you hear me on my phone, Anthony? Okay. Okay, no problem, no problem. We get it working. Listen, there's something which came in the news this week as well, and it was about some knife crime. And we found that this is something which is still rampant, even though somehow it seems as if to say it has sort of gone down, but it still raises its head at every little moment. What do you think about that? What's your take on that? Anthony, we're not hearing you. David, can you hear anybody?
I can't hear. No.
Okay. Anthony, I wonder if it is you, because I can hear David from the speaker here. Isn't it, David? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, I can hear.
Anthony, I think it may be something from your side. That's why I thought I wasn't hearing. Okay. Oh, David, you can hear me clearly, yes?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Anthony, you can hear David. All right. Anthony, okay, well, I thought it was me, but actually maybe it was yourself. Anthony, I'm going to ask you if you just pop out and come back, yes? Okay, no problem. Thanks. Let me just see. David, how are you?
I'm good. We're up and going. So
We're up
on a
and
new
going.
platform, there's always teething problems on a new platform.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I thought it was me a while ago and I was messing around, but then it could be that you were the one that was a trigger that makes it all work.
That's it. Trying to pull the pieces together.
Yeah.
How are you, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool. We just started talking about Anthony said something that it's a sterling effort about the nation and everything like that, and then it turns out when he mentioned sterling, we realized that that's the best way to start things, you know.
Right. I like that.
We only deal in sterling. Anthony.
Yeah.
Yes.
There we are.
Magic.
There we are. Magic. Awesome. Okay, guys. Yes, how is everything? Good?
All great, thank you. All
Yeah.
good. Good to see you guys.
David, you did some fantastic work today, because you're being sort of caught up in a bit, like, isn't it?
Yes, been really busy. Just got through, just finished. So yeah, came through the building and now I'm here.
Yeah. Well, what's your take quickly about the football, and then we'll just move straight into the topics. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic, isn't it? It's great for the country. I think it's going to come home, as I said last week. And you know, the morale of the country is great. I don't mind that people are tapping into that kind of positivity, because it's great. It's at the end of the day, we want people to be happy. We want people to be out there. We've come through a tough time with COVID, and it's all good news. And again, Sterling top of the tree, causing havoc in the penalty area, twice over, getting the goals really. And I love the fact that as an Arsenal fan, Saka created the first goal as well. So it's all coming together quite nicely. Italy is a tough opponent though. It's going to be a really tricky game. I just hope that again Saka and Sterling get into that box and create havoc again, and hopefully we can win. They can win it for the country and respecting for Jamaica.
Yeah. Do you think Saka somehow name is not mentioned that much though?
Well, I think that it's up to the pundits to do that, and if the pundits choose to, then they do. But I think Ian Wright has been definitely championing at the bit with regards to Sterling and regards to Saka, especially. You could even argue that he's going not overboard, but I would say that he's representing Saka a lot because obviously he's got the Arsenal connection. And then you look at somebody like Ferdinand, he's talking a lot about Sterling as well. So, you know, it's up for the pundits to do that. And the pundits that I listen to are doing that nicely. So, you know, I wouldn't expect everybody to. And that's just the way that it goes. You know, Harry Kane's going to be the poster boy, whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day,
he's a captain, isn't it?
He's the captain, exactly. He's the captain of the national team. But, you know, we can all see, you know, the 2 goals again for against Denmark. Sterling was involved in one of them, and heavily in the second one he created the penalty for. So fantastic.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Truth. Mr. Truth, who is going to win and what's the score?
I believe that, you know, I don't want to be a party pooper here, but I believe that Italy will win. I believe it'll be a close game, but I think Italy will probably sneak it, probably 2-1.
Mr. Positive?
Mr. Positive is going to go for 3-0 England. Wow. And I'll tell you why I think it's 3-0. I think if England score the first goal and then they score a cheeky second goal, I think it's game over. And the reason is I think Italy will capitulate. They tend to do that. And that's what will happen. Granted, they've gone very many games unbeaten, but I just think in this final, it's England's to lose. It's in this country. It's not in a country that is less impartial. It's they're going to have screaming fans to support them the whole way through. We'll just have to watch the space, but I do think England will win. Well,
I'll speak to my son because he got the right pundit the other day. He said 2-1. So I'll speak to him later and to see what's going to be. You know. Anyway, guys, listen. There's been some fantastic breakthrough in regards to COVID. Ends July the 19th. David, what's the? I mean, we have seen the news, and the Prime Minister has been criticized in a certain way because, hey, you're opening up when things are going up. With you know, do you think it's the right time for July the 19th, or it should be more phased?
It's a really good question to ask. I think it's really difficult to establish the right time. 4 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, or just over 2 weeks ago, when we were looking at the 19th of June, people were very critical at the time, and I think I was probably one of those that it probably wasn't the right time to release. But if not, then when is the right time? I think the fact is there's got to be policies and procedures in place to make sure that people are protected going forward, and that the NHS is protected going forward as well. But equally, as part of that, we've got to look at the other conditions that are obviously wreaking and potentially could cause havoc in the NHS. We know that the waiting lists are really going in a particular direction that we don't want them to. So what's my feeling? Well, my feeling is that, you know, in terms of face masks, those should obviously be utilised in areas like hospitals and places where people come into really close contact. But that, for me, is a common sense approach. I don't think we should just completely dispel or disbandon the face mask. I don't think we should even completely dispel the idea of having that personal space as well, because it just makes sense to me. I think there are certain things that need to happen, and that's people being safe within their workspaces that they want to travel to and work in. I also think that holiday travel should be looked at, and, you know, sharing your experiences and being able to travel to other countries with equal kind of propensity for infection risk should be utilised. And I think a lot of this is going to be learned over the next few weeks and months, and the best ways that we can travel. So do I think a full unlock is the best way forward? I don't think a complete reduction of everything is the way forward, but I do think that it should be much more of a graded unlock. But, you know, the government's made its choice, and that's why they're the government at the end of the day. The health leaders are there to give their advice, but the government has to make the choices, the hard choices, and that's what I've done.
Let me ping over to Anthony. Anthony, with what the Prime Minister is saying, and with the 60,000 and going to be, well, 45,000 to 50,000 and 60,000 in Wembley shortly, and what we're hearing about from Japan about clamping down on many people coming to the Olympics, what do you think? Is it right, the whole lockdown phase, and with all that is happening? People are calling UK super spreaders.
Well, you know, as David has said, I mean, at the end of the day, the Prime Minister has got to go with what he always says he does go with, and that's the science. Just for interest, by the way, SYLBOURNE, you still got the picture of Sterling up.
Okay.
But for me, at the end of the day, my view on this is one based on the fact that if 3/4 of the country have now had a vaccine, and nearly 2/3 have had 2 doses of the vaccine, then a lot of individuals are going to be saying to themselves, well, if I've been double jabbed, what is the point of me being double jabbed and then feeling that I can't go out or can't mingle anymore? I mean, people will start to have a little bit of a, well, why am I doing this for? So I understand what David's saying in terms of we have to be cautious, and I appreciate that, and I'm one of those people who are I'm on the cautious fence, but at the same time I'm also a realist, and I have to say that the country can't be locked up forever. It is something that we're going to have to live with. It's not going to go away anytime soon, as we've seen. Yeah. And it comes a point where there has to be a date when we say restrictions will come to an end. However, in saying that, I do believe that common sense has to prevail, and people should not suddenly throw away their masks, throw away the social distancing, and they should respect those people who still wish to wear masks. And if you go into crowded areas, I think you should take the appropriate precautions.
I think that totally, because in regards to what is happening, I'm still keeping it the same way as I've been going, making sure that if I go into a supermarket or so, I wear the mask. I don't believe the Prime Minister actually even said, guys, just go for it now. It's free for all. I think he's saying we've got to be responsible because, David, as you said earlier, and Anthony as well, the Prime Minister is saying, when do I open up? Do I wait until the Christmas, the winter? And that is where the flu, flu is going to come back, isn't it? The flu has taken a break, isn't it, David? Where's flu?
Yeah, well, I'm hopeful that it doesn't. I hope nothing makes a comeback. I'd like to put them both to bed and not have any issues. But quite obviously, there is always that propensity for flu season to hit and for this to be a problem again in regards to COVID-19. But yeah, I take the point. It's got to be a common sense approach, and I think we've just got to be sensible about things. And I'm hopeful that people will. But I do trust the vaccine. I think we've seen that the vaccine rollout's fantastic, and that it has saved lives. As I mentioned last week, and for the past few weeks now, it is doing the job that we hoped it would do. And I'm just hopeful that the next wave of vaccines that come out for the particular strains that come out will be as equally, if not more, effective, and put this to bed really. And that's the hope that we can all obviously share. I would say the one thing I will say is about travel as well is there's a heck of a lot of tests that are required if you are to exit the country, depending on the country that you're trying to visit. So even though we've got the vaccines through, there's still that requirement for testing. So that's going to play a big part, I foresee, in how we move through this as well, whether that's in the country or traveling outside the country too. And that's just part of the course.
Anthony, can I just ask a question? Are you seeing Sterling picture up? It shouldn't be up there.
No. I'm seeing David and yourself now.
You're seeing David and myself. Okay, fantastic. Just before we move on, people are actually saying there's a level of division which is also happening because, like they're saying, persons who are double vaccinated have certain perks. They're also talking about that even travel, the fact that people have to pay this expensive amount for these tests or whatever like that is going to put travel into a privileged class. And so there are some questions going on about this double vaccination. They got this privilege, they don't have to isolate. Do you think we are going down a level because the take-up of vaccination has dipped?
That's the thing, and that's what I was alluding to. The numbers of requirements of tests. You're going to take a test to exit the country, a test when you land in the country, a test when you exit that country, and a test when you come back. It's a lot of testing, and what I'm very hopeful for is that this is just information gathering. It's showing whether or not the tests need to be utilized in a longer form or not. And I'm hopeful that it doesn't, but it does lend itself to the discussion that you talk about. It becomes a privileged few that are allowed to travel, or if people who used to travel quite a bit can't travel as much because it becomes more expensive. So it's never was that parity. But I think that the parity of travel was that it was quite affordable to travel for most people in the country. But that's becoming a lot more difficult now. And if you look at the cost of tickets, for example, to fly and to travel, they seem to be quite pricey. Yes. And that's the thing. It's not that parity is not in existence as it was previously. but this disease isn't equally looking at that either. People across the world have suffered in unequal fashions. So again, hopefully it's just an information gathering exercise, and that in a year's time, say for example, that the requirement for tests won't be so great because the population will have been vaccinated the world over, and therefore the tests aren't required as much. But at this moment in time, it is a heavy factor in regards to people's ability to travel.
Anthony, do you think Sajid Javid is up to the job?
Well, I think it's too early to make that
question.
To make that observation. He's only been in the job 2 weeks, so I think let's give the man a chance to get his feet under the desk. Let's give him a chance to actually address some of the things that are front and center that he's got to do. I mean, he's already been quite pragmatic in actually saying or suggesting or making the recommendation that the restrictions are lifted in certain areas, schools, masks, etc. So I think he's taken a more pragmatic view, based on the fact that we can't be locked up forever. We have to sooner rather than later venture out and accept the climate for what it is. And the climate is one of a pandemic. It's a climate of one where we've got a vaccine, as David has said, it's been successful, but it's also a climate of one where 3/4 of the population have now received a vaccine, and the number of deaths are on the decrease. Yeah. So I think when you look at all the positives, I would say that certainly the early decisions that he's making seem to be very positive.
Okay, fantastic. Well, guys, I guess we just have to keep moving on and stuff like that, and take it to the next level. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining, those on Instagram, those on Facebook, and those on YouTube as well. Let us hear your views and your comments in regards to that. One of the next thing, Anthony, I will go straight into this. We were touching on it when David was around, wasn't there, and we touched on it briefly. But the knife crimes still seem to be a factor which is still raising its head every step of the way. Knife crime, 2 more youths knifed to death 6 hours apart recent days. And one of the instant things that come up most time is the government. And of course, at the same time, the parents. Are we getting it or what? You know what I mean? But at the same time, one has got to look at it and say, hang on a second, it's 2 persons or 2 youths, but and at the same time, 2 persons getting stabbed or fighting or whatever like that has an implication within a community, within families, within school, because it has this devastating impact. What's your take on it? I mean, because we've got to keep the finger and the pulse on this particular issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's very worrying trend to see the number of knife crime incidents taking place in the capital. I think we also need to maybe just, as a matter of just caution, look at knife crime in terms of the population at large to see, well, in terms of the number of deaths or number of incidents taking place, is knife crime increasing incrementally all over the country, or is it just in one part of the country? If it's just one part of the country, and that appears to be London, and only in certain parts of London, then clearly we know that we have a localized problem rather than a national problem. So, I'm not saying that the situation isn't critical or doesn't need attention. It does, but I think we also have to be mindful that this may just be a localized problem in terms of one big city like London, rather than it being communicated as being the UK has a national knife crime epidemic with people being stabbed here, there, and everywhere. I think what we're seeing in London is a lot more reporting of incidents involving knife crime. Sadly, I don't know. I haven't seen any statistics to say if this type of knife crime is also being taking place in other big cities like Manchester, Liverpool, etc. Or if I say so, it's just really localized into London. But in terms of what can be done, clearly, if we can identify that it is a localized issue, then maybe we can find measures to go into those areas where we believe they are hotspots, and try to identify and find out, well, what is the root cause? Is the root cause drugs? Is the root cause deprivation in terms of social and economic issues? Is the root cause that the individuals themselves, i.e. the youths, haven't got anything to do in terms of, you know, when they leave school and they're mixed into bad company. You know, we need to really look at, you know, what are the root causes that are leading these individuals, these young individuals, go and carry knives and kill each other.
David, what's your take on it?
I think it's a complex issue. I would say that not all knife crime is exactly the same, and not all murder is exactly the same. But we classifying knife crime as knife crime, and the thought process is that it affects one particular area or one particular group of individuals, when the reality is that it doesn't. The question that was kind of raised there was that essentially people who have committed knife crime exist in all walks of life and all parts of the country. And so, yeah, you need to get to the root cause, but that root cause may be all different for one population as it is to the other. In regards to sort of knife crime, when we talk about black youths in London, again, it's multifactorial. One of the things that I've seen recently is the worry and concern about sort of the lack of youth clubs recently because of the COVID crisis. So that's been a real difficult thing for people to sort of digest, and so the youth don't have anywhere else to go when they get involved in crime and involved in gangs. So that's one of the things I would heavily look at in terms of a root cause. What can we do to support people and kids and youths in regards to sort of their development when schools are out of session? Essentially school summer holidays and also after school. What can be done? Because that's one thing that the government could look at, local councils could look at, where they send their finances in regards to sort of supporting young people. But it's a multifactorial thing, and I said there's lots of different causes. But I do think it's a UK thing, not just a London centric thing.
But one of the things that I plan to do is I was trying to get a guy who works and involved with knife crime in the sense of working to get these things off the road and working with some aspect of trauma. And he has written a book about trauma. And, you know, as I always say all the while, one might not know the answer, but can be a part of the solution to sort of highlight and to talk about these guys, because some of them are struggling in the fight to sort of deal with it, because sometimes they lack of funds, and they always talk about their lack of resources in order to deal with the things. Most of them say that we know what is happening on the street, you know, and that is also something which is very concerning, because they know what is happening on the street, but somehow they're not able to bridge the gap to sort it out. But yet they understand some of the failings of government, the failings of families, the failings of teachers, the failings of the village as well. But all I can say is that we just have to keep the momentum on this, guys. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, just in closing, Sylbourne, I think also, and you know, sadly, I'm gonna say the elephant in the room here, and that most of these knife crimes that are reported in London specifically, I'm not talking about UK wide, but the ones that are reported in London specifically, do seem to involve a majority of youths from the black community.
Yes.
You know, that is quite sad. And, you know, we've mentioned before that we have the Trident police force. And, you know, I think we do need to, you know, try and understand, as David has said, it is a complicated issue, but it's not complicated for example, you know, other ethnic minority groups who don't seem to have this this problem. So clearly we need to get our own house in order in terms of our own community and find out why it is that, you know, a number of our young black men feel drawn into crime for, you know, whatever reason they get into it. So I think, you know, they are the sort of things that we need to look at. And, you know, I do understand David saying about youth centers and things like this. And we constantly hear youth centers being one of the sort of reasons why youths are getting involved in altercations and crime. But, you know, for me, how many, you know, if there is a youth center, does it mean because they've got a place to go to play pool or tennis, that's going to keep them out of actually carrying out a crime? I don't know. I think it's a bit, I think the investigation into this, as David said, it's complex. It's more, it needs some real deep thought in terms of some of the, you know, the real root issues. But I think, you know, I think we need to get our own house in order and just try and identify, you know, why it is that a number of our black youths are sadly victims of this knife crime pandemic.
And you know, one of the things which was interesting was Raheem Sterling. They've been spotlighting Raheem Sterling from growing up in Brent and his life and his journey. And I saw this beautiful one this morning on BBC when it showed the little book, these children write what they want to be, and it was so spot on to be a legend and to also be a footballer. And you can see right there, Anthony, what you're actually saying is it's a perception, it's a mind, and it's a family. And you can realize that his dad died at a young age, so it was his mother pushing it. And a girl was actually saying, she remember the mother was always, spending her time trying to get him to football. So there wasn't a father, but at the same time, there was a persistent mother that was actually going through and actually carrying him on and actually leading him the way. So rightly as so, it's everybody plays a fundamental part. I believe that the family and the base is the most fundamental foundation, and that's where the base breaks down.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it? Where's the time afforded for that in a society where we have to work endlessly to try and provide for families? I mean, I can't say enough how that I think that now it's really difficult even for a two-person family to function as it would be for a single-parent family, yes, because of the needed facility of working so hard. So if there's no support structure, whether that be direct family or through organizations like a youth club or community, and I mean, I guess it comes down to what sense of a community we have now compared to days gone by. What I will say is that COVID has brought out a communal spirit to look after people who have been vulnerable. But I do think that, again, it boils down to what the society is that we have now, and the affordance and need for people to have to work even harder in order to support their families. I'm not saying the Raheem Sterling story can't take place now, yes, but I do think it's a lot harder to do that given the structure of our society now. But that's just my thought.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for that. And ladies and gentlemen, let's just hear your views in regards to that. Anthony, you brought up this one here, which trended briefly in the news, but it took its flight as it came. Stockwell 6 convictions overturned. Convictions of 3 men from 1970s overturned by the Court of Appeal. This actually makes think that lots of people might be, in prison wrongly today. And there are 2 of them now, Anthony, what's your take? And I mean, you flagged this up to me this week, and I flagged it up, but it's not been something trending that much as possible.
No, and it's sad that it hasn't been trending, if I'm really honest, because these are, 6 individuals, the ones that you saw in the in the picture there, where the convictions were overturned, and these convictions go back to when these gentlemen were in their teens. These are now elderly gentlemen. This has taken 50 years for the wrong to be righted. These guys should never have actually gone to prison in the first place, because the police force themselves knew that the person they got evidence from was a corrupt police person. I mean, he's not, the Stockwell 6 aren't the only individuals who have actually suffered as a result of this known police bad egg, for want of a better word. And for me, the fact that it's taken 50 years for these guys to actually have their convictions overturned is quite frankly staggering, because you have to remember the impact on their lives. I mean, I should just clarify, they haven't been in prison for 50 years. They came out after about maybe 3 or 4 years, because some of them served Borstal, some of them served youth sentences of 2 or 3 years, but the implications are that they had criminal records associated with them, which wouldn't go away. And I think one of the gentlemen in the clip you've got there, Selborne, sadly his father died accusing him of actually being guilty, because as far as he was concerned, all the evidence pointed to him. So he has had to live with that for the last 50 years of his life, that his father died actually seeing him as being a criminal and actually seeing him as being guilty. Or
as I would say sometimes, a waste man, thinking that his son is a waste man when
I mean, thinking that his son, came to no good. But and clearly, and don't forget as well, we all know that if you don't have the means to provide, to get the right barristers and all the rest of it, unfortunately, you will end up doing time. And it's just, it's really sad when you hear things like this. And I'm disappointed the media didn't give it more publicity to really highlight the fact that these guys, apart from receiving compensation, which is really irrelevant, half of their life has actually been wasted on trying to actually prove their innocence.
Yeah. David, before I say something, what's your take on this? I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah, my point. I mean, I can't really say much more in addition to what Anthony's really said there. But what I will say is that I do hope that the policies and procedures that would allow people to come to being prosecuted are fully investigated, and you can't have a police officer who's renowned for making falsehoods get people into those kind of positions.
Yes.
So I do hope that this kind of thing can't happen again to anybody. I would be naive in thinking that it may not be a particular issue going forward, but I do hope that it would be less of an issue, and that those persons who can do what this police officer did are held to account, and obviously people don't have their records, criminal records, for no real good reason.
One of the things they said, it is understood that the Criminal Case Review Commission tried to contact the two other men convicted, Texo Johnson and Ronald D'Souza, but they were not traced. Can you believe those guys, what the situation they are in now, as a direct result of something? I mean, you have to look at it now, because when someone have this criminal conviction, it affects them with jobs, credibility, integrity, and of course, there's that more than likely the level of income that they could have. The 6-man Everett Mullins was acquitted. Brigwell was involved in a number of high-profile and controversial cases in the early 1970s. This is the police you're talking about, in acquittals of Tottenham Court Road to 2 young Jesuits. Moved to the department investigating mailbag theft, where he joined up with 2 criminals with whom he split the profits of stolen mailbags. So it is like this has been. I can just imagine lots of persons in prison now, and that's why I'm not an advocate of the death penalty. Remember, is it Derek Bentley? Is that guy Bentley? Years ago, as a result of a death penalty, he died, and he wasn't guilty. And that's one of the devastating consequences of miscarriage of justice. Sad, but sad. Yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, let me hear what you have to say in regards to that. Another thing which I wanted to touch on, and we're just going to wrap up very soon, is this is very interesting. Haiti President Jovenel Moïse killed in attack at home. Anyone know the history of Haiti and how Haiti has been Papa Doc and all these guys from years ago? You know what I'm saying? Haiti was one of the first Caribbean countries that fought off the French and got their freedom. And the French end up somehow getting them to pay billions to them for them getting their freedom. And to this day, Haiti is at the bottom level there in the Caribbean. Freedom fighters, but it's a very reliant set of people. I don't know what's your take on this, the killing of this president. We haven't heard of these things for a while.
It's terrible. I mean, I read the story and the headline. I thought it was a movie story headline. I didn't really believe that this had come to fruition. And it's heart-wrenching, because whilst I have no personal connection, nobody wants a minister of any position or anybody to be slain in their own house or otherwise. So no, I don't quite understand how this came about. I hope the authorities are able to investigate this to the hilt and figure out what happened and why it happened, because we don't want this kind of thing happening in any part of the world, particularly the Caribbean.
Yes.
Because people can really speak ill of things that happen in the Caribbean more so than would of other parts in the world. So no, I don't quite understand what happened here. I can't really say much more than that. I think it's a really saddened story that the PM, the leader of the country, is being slain in their own home. But I do think that I'm sure the agencies, that they'll be investigated to hilt, and those accountable will be found in due course.
Anthony?
Well, yeah, I mean, I concur with what David has said. I mean, you hope that the perpetrators will be caught. I suppose, history shows this is just another sad incident where a president has been assassinated. It will go down as, I mean, we all have to remember Indira Gandhi was obviously assassinated by her own guards in our own home. We've had other incidences of leaders being assassinated, even down to US presidents being assassinated. So sadly, this will go down in history as a footnote of another president being assassinated, but it shouldn't happen. As David said, the authorities hopefully will do a full inquiry and investigation to establish the perpetrators. But I mean, to me, it's the old adage of individuals, somebody with money somewhere trying to destabilize the government for their own means. And they saw that this particular individual was not what they wanted, and they've obviously removed them, and they want to put their own person in. So again, it's really sad that these things happen, whether or not it be in the Caribbean or any part of the world. Democracy is democracy, and that's not the way to go about trying to have your say by force or by violence.
Yeah, but what they said is that unidentified gunmen stormed the property at 1 a.m. local time. Interim PM Claude Joseph said, and he was called for calm and declared a state of emergency nationwide. Recent news, which I just saw before I came up, was that the 2 men were arrested, and there was a gun battle. There were some allegations that America was involved, in regards to some they say it's mercenary. They're thinking, when they say American involvement, people perk up because they know certain things, what happened in the past with that. But nevertheless, that's all allegations, and the ambassador said nothing like that happened. But Haiti now, the question is who is going to take control, of Haiti at this present moment. The Prime Minister of Jamaica has spoken out about it. Caribbean leaders have denounced it because, of course, I think the closest thing that happened like this in the Caribbean was Bishop. What's his name? Something Bishop. I forgot his name again.
Yeah, we're talking about what happened in Grenada.
Maurice Bishop. Yes. So we hope nothing like this happens again in the Caribbean, and somehow they can sort it out as well. I believe for the Caribbean guys, CARICOM need to be a very stronger bloc as much as possible, and somehow forget that to go in. All right.
Okay.
But hey, look at this here. Look at this, you guys. This is powerful.
I am SYLBOURNE SYDIAL. Welcome to the SYLBOURNE SYDIAL Show. And with me today is Honorable Andrew Holness, former Prime Minister, leader of the opposition, leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, member of Parliament for West Central St. Andrew. So, Andrew, tell me, how are things in Jamaica?
Can't hear you, SYLBOURNE.
Can't hear you, SYLBOURNE.
Yeah, you can hear me now because I was on mute. You might be wondering what that was. Well, that was an interview I had with the Prime Minister of Jamaica just before he went to run again for the Prime Ministership, and he won. And we were doing a little mimicking there because I was messing up a couple of his titles because I kept saying Prime Minister, and he keep reminding me he's former Prime Minister because he was Prime Minister first, then he lost his seat, and then he became back Prime Minister. So he took over and he became me. But why I brought him up is because today, the Prime Minister of Jamaica is now a part of the Privy Council. So I just want to just big him up and give congratulations to him because he's now the Queen approved Andrew Holness for the Privy Council. Prime Ministers today shall be follows as the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, on CPC MP Prime Minister. There is, so he's not a big dada. So do you know what the Privy Council is, guys? Do you know what the Privy Council is? What is the Privy Council?
Tell us all, SYLBOURNE. Tell us all.
All relics of the past. Many people are saying, why? Right now, Jamaicans are all saying.
The Grange is in it would be completely against this, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, people say, why are we having Privy Council? Why are we still having the Queen? Are we independent or not independent? And that's the same thing which is raging in Jamaica all the while. But of course, many people, Andrew Holness is a great guy, good friend of mine, and it's a good thing for him taking it to the next level because he has carried himself and diligently serving Jamaica during his time, and with the whole COVID thing which is down there, him and Chris Tufton, they've been leading from the front. We don't see any reason for Chris Tufton to step down. He's not into hand space and go to my place as some others in the Any thoughts on that for the Prime Minister? Congratulations to the Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Yeah, congrats to the PM, and congrats to the way that Jamaica has handled the whole pandemic as well. It's a fantastic thing. And
Anthony, any last word?
I concur with David.
You concur with David. And listen, what is the before we go? Let's just a quick one on July the 19th. And Anthony, this is for you. July the 19th lockdown. Lots of companies are actually saying, like Alan Sugar, back to the desk, you know, and people are talking about going back to normal. Where do you see this going? Where do you forecast this going in order to get back to a level of normality?
Well, I think very quickly, you know, I think there will be a large section of individuals who will be looking forward to going back to the office, providing obviously they can do so in a way that makes sure that they're safe. But I think, you know, offices are important places in terms for dynamism and collaboration and actually simply getting things done. I think, you know, in terms of also people's social and mental well-being, you know, it's important that they, you know, we are people of habitable disposition, and we like to actually mix with other people, you know, spending our times, you know, just simply sat in front of a PC on a Zoom call or a Teams call isn't really collaborative, is it? So I think you will find that there will be, I think, a lot of people who will be quite happy to go back and see their colleagues and have that sort of dynamic environment again. And also, I think you'll find a lot of people will be happy actually just to simply leave home. You know, I mean, they've been stuck in their front rooms or their back rooms or their lofts or wherever it is for the last 18 months or thereabouts. And they simply want to get back to some sort of normality. And I think that normality involves the office. So I think we will see quite a number of people, you know, start going back to the office. It won't be in the numbers that I think some people have been talking about, but I do foresee that certainly by this time next year, I would predict that we're more or less be right back to where we were before the pandemic.
David, and I say something.
And you know, I think
it makes no difference for you because you have just been on the front lines.
No, it makes no difference for me. But Anthony brings up a really you know, two poignant words there: office and home. And I'd just like to say it's coming home.
I like that. And on that basis, there, might as well just put up sterling. We don't deal with euros. We're only dealing as sterling, innit?
That's true.
I must say though, I do sometimes get a bit, you know, Anthony, you said it some time ago when we did our interview and we talk about you need to dress as if you're going to work. God, sometimes really you wish you could put on your pinstripe suit and go back to court. You know what I'm saying? Than just the top and the tracksuit bottom. You know. and you're right, Anthony. It does make a big difference when you can have the camaraderie of your colleagues. We're all into this Zoom thing. We had a manager who left recently, and most of us saw each other for the first time for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And it was such a big difference. Everybody's into this Teams meetings. You know what I'm saying? But lots of people do not want to go back because they're saying the quality of life. Can we say think about this for a second? I'm just seeing more people coming on. So the quality of life people have said have increased. Would you say that? By staying home and having time with the family?
I think for some it will have, for sure. You know, people's lives have changed for the better. Some people's lives have changed for the worse. I think what I would say going forward is there should be a degree of flexibility and to allow people that want to work away from home the ability to do that. And people that want to work at home the ability to do that too. That's how I see it. Flexibility is key.
Yeah. Okay. Anthony? Well, you're always Mr. Flexible and Mr. Truth. What do you say? You wrap it up?
I think, you know, I think we're going to end up with a hybrid model going forward now because obviously technology has proven itself. People have now become accustomed to working from home. And so I think that organizations and companies will have to provide that balance in order to keep their staff.
Yes. Well, what can I say? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me hear what you have to say. Are you looking forward to working from home or working hybrid situation? Is this what it is? Is how it's going to be? I believe and I sense that many elderly people are more saying they like to keep this as well and keep the family together. That save them a lot of money at the same time, you know. So, guys, thank you so much tonight. And hey, David, that looks good. Where are you? I see you on the outside there. Like you on the beach.
I'm practicing for holidays. Hopefully, watch this space. Now I'm outside in my apartment. I decided to soak up some sun as I spent all day inside. I decided to soak up the last rays of sun.
The unfortunate thing with my show is called a late one. so I can't have a sunshine bit. I got to give an atmosphere of darkness. Anthony, any last word? Good night.
That's it. Good as usual to see you guys, and I'll see you again soon.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much.
You're muted again.
Am I muted? No, I'm not muted.
Yeah. You're not. I think you were saying something about it's coming home. I'm sure that's what you were saying.
Oh, yes. It's coming home. So, Anthony, you said 2-1 to England winning 2-1, yeah?
Italy.
but you know, I actually was saying to myself the other day that I believe that the Denmark team was a stronger team, but I said I'm going against all my objective thinking and give it to England. Anthony, that's all you got to do. Go against all the objective
give it to Sterling. Give it to
Sterling. Can you do it, Anthony? Anthony, can you do that?
I'll give Sterling a goal.
Anthony's frozen.
Sterling will get a goal, but Italy will win.
Okay, all right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what your views are and who you think gonna win. There's the guy Sterling, and all the best. And boom, I think it's off now. Okay, good night. Take care of yourself.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.